You know, Tyler, I think you're kind of a mean mistreater. Are you satisfied with the way you feel?
Am I satisfied with the way that I've made you feel is really what the question is.
I haven't kicked you out of the studio yet.
Not yet. I'm just lucky to be allowed down in here.
And I guess we're live on the air, so welcome to Classic Vinyl Podcast. This is Justin and Tyler, and today we're going to do Grand Funk Railroad and kind of I would say, a little bit of a hidden gem, Mean Mistreater.
Mean Mistreater.
I think Grand Funk Railroad has unfortunately been forgotten today, and that's a shame because they are an amazing band in my opinion, and if you don't think so, then your opinion sucks.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's one thing that there's not going to be any movement on is Grand Funk Railroad is a hell of a band.
Yeah, I'll back you up on that. Let's fight anybody who disagrees with us on that. I'm going to meanly mistreat all of them.
Let me give you a little history on the band Grand Funk Railroad. They were formed in Flint, Michigan in 1969. The one thing that always comes to my mind with this band is you cannot talk about rock and roll from the 1970s without putting this band smack dab in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. I think you have, obviously, the Beatles were the 60s. I think Led Zeppelin was the 70s as far as rock bands go, and I think Grand Funk was a close second to Led Zeppelin.
Oh, I thought we were going with, Grand Funk is the 80s. No.
Well, close, the 70s. But, and like I was speaking before, I think they have been somewhat erased. They're unfortunately one of those bands that people just don't know much about. I think there's a few of their songs that are still popular today that are heard on radio, TV, commercials, things like that. But most people wouldn't be able to tell you who Grand Funk Railroad is.
Yeah.
They've been touring for over 50 years now, although without their original lineups and a bunch of different lineups. They originally consisted of Mark Farner on guitars, keyboards, harmonica, and lead vocals, Mel Schecker on bass, and Don Brewer on drums and lead vocals. They're basically a power trio, and I think they're a much better power trio than even Cream is being known as one of the best power trios. Mm-hmm. Shacker and Don Brewer, they're both still in the band to this day. It is a shame that Mark Farner is not with them because he created so much of their early music and he's a big piece. And that's one thing I will say, if they put Mark Farner back in the band and tour, I'm going to see him. I don't care how old they are. So,
and I think that they have a big revival.
Yeah, I think anybody that knows them, I think their fan base is getting a little older now, but their current singer is Max Carl. He actually sang with 38 Special, so he's the one singing for the band. And I hear they're not bad, but it's hard for me to go see them without Mark Farner.
Yeah.
So the band name, Grand Funk Railroad, it's basically a play on words from the Grand Trunk Western Railroad that ran straight through Flint, Michigan. That's what they named it after. All in all, they have released 6 platinum and 7 gold certified albums between 1969 and 1976. They were really well known for their arena rock style, and that's what they did extensively is tour, and that's what they were known for, playing live. They're a very excellent live band. I still listen to a lot of their live albums to this day. They were loved by the fans then, but there was a serious lack of critical praise from critics. Yeah. And who gives a shit about them anyways? Because most of the time, let's be honest, they're wrong.
That's right. Critics.
Yeah, and they did one thing, speaking of the Beatles of the 60s, they did equal the Beatles' Shea Stadium record and sold their own Shea Stadium show out in 72 hours. So pretty amazing to sell that place out. So their first album sold over 1 million copies and was certified gold and reached number 27 on the charts, but they didn't get much airplay.
Oh, really?
The radio stations didn't like them, the critics didn't like them, and they didn't get any radio airplay. Or I shouldn't say they didn't get very much radio airplay.
And yet they charted.
Yeah, yet they charted, and yet they sold out stadiums everywhere.
See, that's just it. It's like the fans loved this group.
Well, the critics universally panned them as musically dumb, just loud and annoying. They really, all in all, they were a no bullshit band for the working class. You know, good rock band that played good heavy music for the working class. They pretty much played directly to people without any guidance of those self-appointed experts. So Closer to Home, their third album, with Closer to Home single, hit number 22 in the U.S., number 21 in Canada. Closer to Home, the actual song, hit number 6 on the Billboard charts. E Pluribus Funk, which is an Awesome album name.
Yes, out of many, Funk.
Yeah, it's their fifth studio album. It reached number 5, and Phoenix, another one of their albums, hit number 7. We're an American Band, the album. That was their 7th album. It reached number 2 in the U.S., and the single reached number 1. They did have some success without help from critics.
No, they came to your town and helped you party down.
Yeah, they also had another song that was fairly successful, Walk Like a Man, reached number 19. I think a lot of the great songs from this band were never released as singles, never charted. That's fine. If you explore this band, you'll find them because they're a good band. Shining On, which was their 8th album, reached number 5 with The Locomotion.
Oh.
The song The Locomotion reaching number 1 in the U.S. and Canada both. And that's a song written by the famous Jerry Goffin and Carole King.
Oh, my.
They did well with that song, turning it into a rocker. And that's probably one of my least favorite songs, which is funny. The song that charted the best is probably one of my least favorite Grand Funk songs.
Oh, it was a super iconic hit of the 80s.
70s.
70s, that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So All the Girls in the World Beware was their 9th album. It reached number 10 and had Some Kind of Wonderful, which is a pretty popular song, which hit number 3, and Bad Time, which is another pretty popular song, which hit number 4. I would think probably The Locomotion and Some Kind of Wonderful and maybe We're an American Band are probably their 3 most popular songs. I'm just guessing, and they're probably the 3 songs I listen to the least.
Yeah.
So they had 4 more albums that didn't have very much chart success, and this is a band, even though I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a complete sham, and this is actually the perfect band to explain why they are. Because with this band's success, with this band, all their arenas they sold out and everything, it blows me away that bands like this are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Do you want to get on to the song review?
I do.
And now it's time for the song review.
Okay, so today we're doing Grand Funk Railroad and Mean Mistreater. First off, Tyler, what is your history with the song? Right before we recorded, you said, I think I know this one, and then we listened to it. So what is your history with this song?
Okay. I have no history with this song. My history of this song goes back exactly 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Twice, yeah.
But still, it's like the term mean mistreater, I've heard that term before in other songs, but I haven't heard this song. And I'm just like, wow, how is it that I haven't heard this song? Because, boy, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's a powerful song. Let me give you a little history about it. So this was released on June 15th of 1970. It is written and sang by Mark Farner. This is off the band's 3rd studio album, Closer to Home, which is a pretty powerful album in my opinion. You really need to go listen to that one. The Closer to Home album reached number 6 in the U.S. and Canada both. Did not chart in the UK. This song's also popular for their Grand Funk Live album that was released in November of 1970. And I enjoy the live version of it just as much as I do the studio version.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And so it was recorded at the Cleveland Recording Company in Cleveland, Ohio, and produced by Terry Knight. Now, this song was not released as a single, but it's definitely been a popular song in the Grand Funk catalog if you're a Grand Funk fan of any kind. The live version off the live album was released as a single and reached number 47 in the U.S. charts. So the live version did somewhat well.
Yeah.
For critics saying what a shit band this is. Pretty easy. The lyrics are pretty easy to figure out. I mean, it's basically about a woman that he feels is mistreating him, right? Or has mistraught him. Is that a word?
Yeah, he's been in a relationship with a chick that has been doing him wrong.
So I probably shouldn't say mistraught.
Mistraught, I'm okay with mistraught.
Oh, okay. It just seemed like the past tense of mistreat.
Yeah.
Mistreated him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been mistraught.
Yeah, I mean, the song certainly showcases themes of heartache, longing and lingering effects of this toxic relationship, regardless of whose side it was on. We're hearing it from his side, and basically he's calling her the mean mistreater. But, we don't get both sides of it. But
True.
Yeah, this is a good song, and it's something I think you really should listen to. I was looking and looking. There's not a lot of information on this song. It's been covered by a couple bands. The Bar-Kays in 1978 and Kelly Keeling in 2000. I know neither.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
I don't.
And the one thing when I hear this song is I just wish Mark Farner would reunite with Grand Funk.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, after listening to Mean Mistreater twice, for the first time ever. What are your thoughts on this song?
Yeah, we listened to both the studio and the live versions, and they both start off very similarly with a very deliberate and slow keyboard open, like a funeral. It sounds like that keyboard organ just playing, and then he starts singing in, and he sounds like he's in pain. I mean, he sings out of anguish, calling her a mean mistreater. This song, as it gets going, the bass starts to back it up, the drums start in, and the drums are really upbeat and fast. They play this song, and it's like this song has two gears. The first one, that slow, deliberate gear that's really sad and morose, and then the second gear, which is the high gear and the fast one, where it's, rock and roll, and it's like, it is reminiscent of this relationship and how he's experienced it. It's a roller coaster of a relationship, and sometimes we do like the roller coaster ride. And that's why, sometimes we get involved with people who are no good for us. Yeah, he likes this girl, but he knows that she's hurting him. She's hurting him with no regard to him. She's just living her life, and who cares? But he's invested so much in this relationship. He gets into the downhill side of the song. He's like, look, I know all about you. I've, met your parents and, all of this. So he's like intertwined himself into her life and gotten to know her so well. So part of it, I think he sees that he's invested so much in this relationship. It's hard to walk away from that much of your life that you've put into it, and so much of your heart that you've given to this girl, just to see her stab it over and over again. She doesn't have any regard for his feelings. And so that's why he's feeling like, oh, she's a mean mistreater, but he keeps going back to her. And sooner or later, if he wants to find some happiness in his life, and not just that fleeting happiness that comes every time she throws him a bone, he's going to have to break things off with her. But it's not going to happen because, boy, he really likes that roller coaster ride. Those are my thoughts that I walk away from Mean Mistreater. What are your thoughts, Justin?
Well, I like how slow and soul the song is, especially from Grand Funk, because it's kind of a polar opposite of a lot of their other stuff. The lyrics, there's not a lot of lyrics in this song, and it's soft. I love the way it starts with that soft organ or keyboard opening. Then the bass kind of goes along with it, and it's thick. Mm-hmm. This song is pretty void of any guitar. It's pretty much just organ and bass and drums. And you get the drums on the pickup section. But like in the first verse, you look at these lyrics: mean mistreater, you make me cry, you lay around and watch me die. I can't tell from this song if he's still with her and she treats him poorly, or if she's left him, because when it gets into that part where it really picks up, he says, I've tried hard to live without you, and I can't help myself from thinking of you for the rest of my days. And so it seems kind of like he's on a dire path here, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, is she left him? Is she with him? Or is it history telling of the relationship? Are they back and forth? I don't know. But the one thing is, from the very start of the keyboard, it's a sad song, and it's dark. And then when it does pick up that little section, it's still not super fast, but it certainly is compared to the rest of the song. And then I like how after that verse, it goes back down again, because it's got some good harmonies in it from the rest of the band. I like the keyboard throughout. I enjoy keyboards when they're used well, and I think the way they use it in conjunction with the bass gives it a really thick, dark sound, and I really like that. But there is a lack of noticeable guitar. Like I've said many times, I'm a guitar fan, but I have a lot of asterisks on songs, and this is one of them.
I think this song could have used some guitar.
It might have, but it's got a good keyboard.
Oh, the keyboard
solo.
shines, yeah.
It's got a keyboard solo in the middle that actually seems to fit with it. Because I think if you go with guitar on this one, then maybe it's pushing it to something it isn't. I don't know for sure.
Could be.
Yeah, but it's an excellent song. It's up there in the top tier of some of my favorite songs with Grand Funk. That's why we're releasing an episode on it, because guess what? We get to decide.
Yep.
And most people aren't even going to know what Grand Funk Railroad, let alone a song called Mean Mistreater is. But hopefully, if one person enjoys them a little bit and hasn't heard of this song, you need to go listen to it. But
and that's part of it. We really hope that you'll engage with us with this podcast and go and try out some of these songs if you haven't heard of them before.
Yeah. So do you want to get the song rating?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
Okay, if this is your first episode, I'll explain our rating scale pretty simple. It's 0 to 10, and 10 being awesome. I put this song pretty far up there. Higher than I expected. I put this one up at an 8. When we were talking about the review, how I think it could have benefited from a little bit of electric guitar, or from some electric guitar if they used it properly. That being said, I think this song stands out fine just as it is, and it really resonates. I mean, if you've ever been in a toxic relationship with somebody that you know is no good for you, but they know each of your buttons to push when they want you to come back and come around. Boy, I mean, this is a song that just it rings true. It rings that bell on the inside. Really resonates. So I put it at an 8. Where do you put this one, Justin?
Hey, we're the same on this. I'm really surprised you've
really?
listened to this song twice.
Yeah.
What I enjoy about this song, especially when I'm listening to Grand Funk live, is listening to their live album. It's kind of neat because it's a complete departure from everything else, and then it picks up after this. And after this song, it gets to some heavier songs. And I think Grand Funk, not only do I obviously speak glowing of them, but they're a great live band. I enjoy their music live more than I do on record, and not a lot of bands I can say that about. The Who is one of them, for sure, who I've said before on this podcast. I think The Who is the greatest live band ever. I think these guys can compete for that, and they're a really good live band, and I think it's just unfortunate that they haven't seen their fair due, haven't been put into the shitty Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because they deserve it more than a lot of people that are there, but we all know the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame isn't about deserve. Anyways, so it is what it is, but do yourself a favor. This song's an 8 for me. Do yourself a favor and go listen to some Grand Funk. They're an amazing band. But that's Grand Funk Railroad and their song Mean Mistreater. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send us an email at classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you have any songs you'd like us to rate, send them there as well. And we really appreciate you listening. Till next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.